It's been 2 years since I looked at a Ben 10 game from my childhood, and I won't lie, the quality of the footage was less than ideal. But now, thanks to advancements in technology,
Way up she rises.
I think it's time for me to look at the next game in the franchise which follows Ben into his sequel series, Ben 10 Alien Force. So join me as I try to hold a children's video game from 2008 to modern day standards. If someone asked you what you did in a game about Ben 10, you'd probably say you play as Ben and can transform into 10 aliens. And that's exactly the case here. Actually, it's half the case here. Because just like with Protector of Earth, you can only transform into 5 aliens. In the last game, the circumstances behind this limit are explained through a cutscene revealing that Vilgax tampered with the Omnitrix, and crystals containing its DNA samples were scattered across the country. In Alien Force, they just handicap you without giving a reason. While this sucks, there are ways in which this game improves on the last one. The aliens you have access to are Swampfire, Big Chill, Spider Monkey, Jet Ray, and Humongosaur. While in the DS version, 3 of these are swapped out for Echo Echo, Goop, and Chromastone. So across both versions of the game, you get a good selection of Ben's aliens. I'd also argue that the selection in the main console version is better than the aliens you get on Protector of Earth. The aliens in Alien Force are a lot more diverse than those in the last game, and they fill different roles in the platforming and puzzle aspects of the game. Swampfire can manipulate fire and plants, making him Heat Blast and Wildvine rolled into one package. He's a good brawler and is able to burn away certain obstacles. Big Chill is able to freeze enemies and turn intangible, making him good for crowd control. He can also glide on air currents and access hard to reach areas. Spider Monkey is a melee fighter able to jump around the battlefield and throw his enemies around. He's particularly useful for platforming, climbing walls and using web zip points. Jet Ray is the fastest alien in the game, making it easy for him to run loops around enemies and hit them with his lasers. He's good for crossing large gaps and grabbing collectibles in awkward places. And finally, Humongosaur, who according to the game is Ben's most physically powerful and largest alien. His huge size and strong attacks make him a good beatstick to kill big enemies with and wipe out hordes of smaller ones. But he's also a big and slow moving target, so when you're locked into using him for the final level, you can get killed by turrets almost instantly because you have nearly no invincibility frames. In Protector of Earth, 3 of your aliens are all melee based, which can make them feel a bit samey. In Alien Force, you can tell that every alien serves a specific purpose while also making combat noticeably different depending on your choice of transformation. Speaking of the combat, what can I say? It's about what I expected. I know I just ranted about how the aliens make combat feel varied, but it's a beat 'em up designed for kids. The combo system and playable characters can only do so much to alleviate the boredom created by the loop of walk forward, fight enemies, game says go, walk forward, platforming section, fight enemies, game says go, occasional boss fight. And while the platforming sections feel better than they did in the last game, there are some parts where the game gets really frustrating. These might be unrelated, but I'm pretty sure Insomniac were inspired by Ben 10 Alien Force when designing Spider-Man for the PS4, because this game also sees you play as 2 sidekicks who are nowhere near as fun to play as the main character. In the original series, Ben was accompanied by his grandpa Max and cousin Gwen in an RV called the Rust Bucket. In Alien Force, he's joined by an older Gwen and reformed Kevin in a car that was just the coolest fucking thing that you ever saw when you were 10 years old.
If that pulled up outside your house, you'd think, oh no, a drug dealer is here.
Both Kevin and Gwen have their own sections where you play as them, with Gwen using her anodite powers and Kevin absorbing materials like metal, stone, and wood to make armor. While I appreciate the inclusion of the side characters, their levels just aren't fun. Kevin just punches, kicks, and throws rocks, making him a slightly sturdier version of Ben, and Gwen is only slightly more interesting with her light constructs. Thankfully, their involvement is limited to small sections of 1 or 2 main levels, which as a whole are a lot longer than they were in Protector of Earth, lasting anywhere between 20 and 40 minutes. But due to the extended length, the game has a lot less levels in comparison, with it having 8 levels as opposed to the last game's 24. And the levels here are just presented as a list in Kevin's car. The last game's levels were all places across North America, with a photo putting them in the context of the team's summer vacation. It's not the end of the world, but it's disappointing that this charming aspect of the game has just been reduced to Calibri font. But enough about that, the next thing to discuss is what actually happens in the levels. There are going to be story spoilers from this point onwards, so if you're super invested in experiencing the story of the Ben 10 Alien Force video game from 2008, good for you. The game begins with the team following some Forever Knights to appear. After making our way to the end of the level, we meet Garvin, a Tetramand plumber who claims to have ties to Grandpa Max. I used to have Ben 10 action figures when I was a kid, and I didn't have firearms, but I did have Garvin. My mum essentially said we have firearms at home. The story then follows the team as they work with Garvin to confiscate dangerous technology being used by enemies from the series, including the Forever Knights, Pickaxe Aliens, and DN Aliens who have some really cool variations like the Pyronite and Vulpimancer hybrids. We also take on a variety of bosses including a robot dragon and Vulcanus. Halfway through the game we find out that Garvin is evil, and he's been giving the technology we've gathered to the hybrid. Kevin goes to confront Garvin and gets turned into a DN alien we have to beat in a boss fight. And honestly, it's nowhere near as cool as the Kevin boss fight from the last game. After Ben confronts and defeats Garvin, a hybrid commander breaks in to steal the last component, a sub-energy core which can be used to power their weather towers. The final act of the game sees us break into the hybrid ship to face the commander in the worst boss fight of the entire game. We can't actually fight the hybrid, we just have to avoid him, hit some pipes to slow him down, activate the zero gravity switches in the chamber, and hit another switch. Do this 4 times in a row, congratulations, you win. But not really, because your final enemies are the towers.
Cool!
So the final level sees you play as all 3 main characters doing their part in destroying the giant weather towers, but mainly Ben because he can become the giant dinosaur man. The tower segments lock you into playing as Humongousaur as you climb the tower, get one-tapped by turrets, try again, get one-tapped by turrets, consider what you're doing in life as a 23-year-old man struggling with a child's video game, and eventually destroy the tower. After destroying a tower, the same cutscene of Humongousaur jumping off a tower and turning back into Ben plays twice, which is noticeable, but not as annoying as the Baki vs Kengan Ashura, especially using the exact same Hanayama animation 5 times within 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I just don't have anywhere else to vent about this, I'm still mad about it. After destroying the 3rd tower, the team finds a secret DN alien goon cave which self-destructs when they try to access the 4TB homework folder. As the team walks away, a screen in the rubble foreshadows future hybrid activity, but judging from the next game in the series, it doesn't seem like this goes anywhere. Overall, the game's plot exists. It doesn't really give any reason as to why the alien selection is limited, the boss fights are underwhelming, it's missing a lot of iconic villains from the series, and the game loop is shallow and monotonous. The last game had you facing the likes of Enoch, Kevin 11, Ghost Freak, Dr. Animo and Vilgax, and here you fight a robot dragon, Vulcanus, Kevin, the hybrid, and Garvin, original character, don't steal. Alien Force has actual cool villains to pull from like Michael Morningstar, the Incursions and the Techodons. There's still enough villains to fit into another Alien Force game, but no, we get Garvin. So it turns out that the story in a Ben 10 video game is mid. Who could have seen it coming? But that's not all the game has to offer, as we also get access to something that's been dying out with the advent of streaming services, bonus features. The game's bonus features include what you'd expect from a video game, concept art, model viewers, and a cutscene viewer. But we also get a behind the scenes video featuring an interview with Glenn Murakami, the producer of the TV show, Yuri Lowenthal, who you might know as Teenage Ben Tennyson, Helldiver Voice Number 2, Marth, Luca, Makoto Yuki, Yosuke Hanamura, Sasuke Uchiha, Insomniac's Spider-Man, your future stepfather, and Dee Baker, who voices the aliens. It's just a cool little collection of extras you can access, alongside a cheat code menu which can give you things like unlimited health, unlock all levels and aliens from the start, and give you master control of the Omnitrix. Ben 10 Alien Force makes slight improvements to the last game with its selection of aliens and inclusion of the side characters, but the structure of levels and gameplay loop are entirely unchanged, with lackluster boss fights, and the game refuses to use any of the interesting villains to its advantage. Overall, it's difficult to put this any higher than Protector of Earth, so I'm sticking it with a 3 out of 10. While Alien Force has been pretty underwhelming, I'm curious to see what happens in the Ben 10 games I never played as a kid.